Hello friends, welcome back. Today we're going to use middleware to handle asynchronous action. Middleware just means software that's in between other software, and asynchronous means like email is an example of asynchronous communication. Chat is an example of synchronous communication. Talking to someone is an example of synchronous communication. Asynchronous is more like letter writing or email because you can send a message and then you don't expect a reply immediately. It's called asynchronous communication. So far, these challenges have avoided discussing asynchronous actions, but they are an unavoidable part of web development. At some point, you'll need to call asynchronous endpoints in your Redux app. So how do you handle these types of requests? Redux provides middleware designed specifically for this purpose called Redux Thunk middleware. Here's a brief description of how to use this with Redux. To include Redux Thunk middleware, you pass in an argument to redux.applyMiddleware. This statement is then provided as a second optional parameter to the createStore function. Take a look at the code at the bottom of the editor to see this. So here we've got, okay, I'm going to stretch this out because everybody knows that I like to see everything on one line. It's actually going to be impossible here. I'm going to just improve this spacing so we can see what's going on more efficiently here. Okay, so down here we've got the store, redux.createStore. The first parameter being sent in is the async data reducer. So we're familiar with reducers. So this is the reducer. It's got a switch statement in it, a default state, and then two different states that take in the type of data that's being sent into the reducer. We've seen this before. This is the new thing, redux.applyMiddleware. This is the second argument being passed into the Redux store. Okay, so that's what they're saying here. You return take a look at the code at the bottom of the editor to see this. Then, to create an asynchronous action, you return a function in the action creator that takes dispatch as an argument. Redux thunk.default. .default apply middleware. Is that even in here? Okay, so this is all just, I guess, built-in Redux functionality. Then to create an asynchronous action, you return a function in the action creator that takes dispatch as an argument. Okay, so our action creator in this one is that takes dispatch. Return function dispatch. Okay, so we're doing something in here. So this handle async is our thing. Okay. Within this function, you can dispatch actions and perform asynchronous requests. In this example, an asynchronous request is simulated with a set timeout call. Okay, so they're setting the timeout here. A set timeout means wait for 2.5 seconds. This is 2,500 milliseconds, so 2.5 seconds. We're going to set a timeout, and we're going to return this data after 2.5 seconds. So this represents an API call. If you were to request information from a different system, it might take 2.5 seconds for it to travel across the internet and then come back to you with a response. That's the asynchronous nature. It's common to dispatch an action before initiating any asynchronous behavior so that your application state knows that some data is being requested. This state should display a loading icon for the instance. Then, once you receive the data, you dispatch another action which carries the data as a payload along with information that the action is completed. Okay, so remember that you're passing dispatch as a parameter to the special action creator. Passing dispatch as an action to the special action creator. This is what you'll use to dispatch your actions. You simply pass the action directly to the dispatch, and the middleware takes the rest of the case. You simply pass the action directly to the dispatch. Pass the action to the dispatch. So we return the dispatch, and the middleware handles the rest. So write both dispatches in handle async action. Dispatch requesting data before the set timeout. Dispatch. So I guess we go dispatch dot requesting data before the set timeout, then after receiving the pretend data. So here, after we've received it, this is the user, this is our pretend data. Dispatch received data. Action, passing in this data. And we want to pass in the data. Dispatch requesting data before there, and then now you know how to handle asynchronous actions in Redux. Everything else continues to behave as normal. Okay, so it looks like we passed most of the test. The requesting data action creator should return an object of the type equal to the value of requesting data. The received data action creator should return an object of type equal to the value of received data. Reducer should be a function. Dispatching the requesting data action creator should update the store state property of fetching to true. Dispatching handle async should dispatch the data request upon action, and then dispatch and received request action, and then dispatch the received data action after a delay. Received data. Received data. Data. Type received data users data.users. Data is equal to data. Data.users is equal to these guys. So I'm missing something in here. Write both dispatches in the handle async. So here we're handle async, action creator. Dispatch, requesting data. Requesting data. Maybe I need to put dispatch in here. No. Dispatch requesting data before the set timeout simulation call. Then after you receive the pretend data, dispatch received data. Dispatch received data. Maybe they mean dispatch like you call it in a function. Like you say dispatch the requesting data, and inside the requesting data you get back this guy. And then dispatch received data. You get back that guy. Okay, so that's what it was. Okay, so you want to call dispatch function on requesting data. So let's go through this from the top down. So first we have a constant of requesting data, which is set to the string of requesting data. Received data, which is a constant set to received data. Now we're creating a function saved as a constant variable, requesting data, and that returns type requesting data. So this is just a simple action function, which returns an object. So if you see this requesting data, like we have here, all this really does is just returns an object with the type of requesting data. And then here we have a constant of received data, which does the same thing. But this time it has a type of received data, but it also passes in data which we receive. And it's an object in which the object has a key called users, which we're probably going to see down here somewhere, right? Oh, well, we're taking a data, and then our data, and we're saying let our data be an object with a user key of users. So dot users, and so this is going to render out to this. And so here, when we handle the asynchronous nature of it, we're going to return a function that gives us, first off, we set dispatch equal to the requesting data. So we're saying, I don't even understand what dispatch does. Okay, so dispatch just is something that we must need to remember if we're going to be using Redux. And so we're dispatching a requesting data object, and then we're setting the timeout. This would be more like an API call where we're like saying, give us something. And then, so we're setting the data equal to this. So once our data does have this, we're saying dispatch received data. So, received data. So our received data, and then our users is equal to data.users. So we're saving that to the received data element. And then our default state of fetching false. I don't understand why we do that. Users. Here we're just setting the default state to here, but then now we have a data object with the users that we were looking for. And so then our asynchronous data reducer, we've got our reducer is set here. So our reducer is async data reducers here. And then that way, when we call things like store.handle async, we can receive data depending on the way that we're receiving it through our API call. At least that's the way I understand this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm not a super expert on Redux, so I hope that this is helpful. See you guys in the next lesson.